final show in UFC Talk.
Good afternoon and welcome to NUFC Talk with me, Boaky, and Tina today. It's the final shout show. Tina, are you? Oh, Tina's gone. So, how are you guys all? Oh, you're back. How are you today, Tina? I'm good, thanks.
The final show in UFC Talk.
There we go. I think. Why aren't you on screen? We'll do that one.
Oh,
There you
here
go.
I come, there I am, yay!
Right, should we start this again so we'll be a little bit professional?
Shall we begin? I'll even redo my salute.
Good afternoon, welcome to NUFC Talk, the final shout with me, Boaky, and Teen Tuna. So how are you this afternoon, Tina?
This early afternoon show for a change, and I'm doing really good. I've got those Sunday vibes, so I think this is the perfect time for us to have a little roundup of the week. How are you doing? You okay?
I'm really okay-ish. I don't think you can be
Okay-ish.
perfect after. Yeah, I don't think you can be okay after what we've been through over the last few weeks. But
It's been a
I think
few
we're
weeks.
beginning. Yep. So we'll try to make this one
I
a
mean, I
little bit
think-
more positive. Sorry, go on.
We
Tina.
will. I was just going to get out the way the fact of yesterday's game, because we'll talk about it plenty through the week. I just think there's a few positives that we can take from that. So everyone in chat coming in, if anyone does have a bit of a hangover, it was against Arsenal and we did play pretty well. There's a lot of positives that I'm sure at least myself is going to come on through this week. So, but yeah, Sunday vibes. I've got my Sunday afternoon coffee. Let's.
Excellent.
Sorry, feel
nice.
free to do the stuff that you're wanting to do now.
No, that's fine. Just before we do get started, can I ask you to whack the like button, subscribe if you're new around here, and if you can, please become a member for a small monthly fee. You can do all those things at the bottom of the screen below me. We'll love your chats, and I'll try to read out as many as possible. However, the only way we can guarantee a chat is to make it a super chat. So should we start off, obviously it's a weekly roundup, should we start off with the Bournemouth game last week?
Oh yeah, I forgot about that one. That's going to bring the vibes down just a little bit, but
Just
yeah.
a little bit, but Asula's goal, I think that's a positive we can take from that game. He is starting to score, that lad. I've said through the last few shows, do you think he's a little bit of a hidden gem? Do you think he could become a good player for Newcastle?
I've kind of had this thought about him. I don't know if it's just because he's absolute chaos. But I mean, he's always energetic. He's running off the ball is fantastic. The fact that he'll try anything. I mean, people look at the back of his shirt and they see a Sula 18. He looks in the mirror and he thinks, "Oh, I'm Cristiano Ronaldo." And I mean, he runs at people. And that goal he scored against Manchester United earlier on in the season, I think that kind of summed him up so well. And then I watched him a couple of games after that, and he looks really mobile up front. And I think, outside of Gordon, we've seen to lack that this season. So I'm delighted for him that he scored, that was his second goal in as many games. And I genuinely, I hope that we keep him. I didn't want us to get rid of him in the January when people were thinking he might have went. There was a couple of rumours about teams coming in from. But I genuinely think that if we stick with him, we might have a little gem on our hands.
Yeah, I don't think he's an orthodox player, so I don't think you're ever going to see him be sort of a striker that we're used to seeing. But that's not always a bad thing. So I think out of the ones we've got, he's probably one of the best, if not the best, up there at the minute. Which is a strange thing to say because you'd never ever have thought that at the start of the season when you've spent 120 odd million on the other guys and the bloke that cost you 11 million becomes your first choice player. But he does seem to be a good striker.
Yeah, I think the thing with him is, I think whereas the other players are at a time in their careers where they feel like they've got to prove something. I think Wissa, showed yesterday, he kind of has a thing on him where he feels like he's got to prove something. I think Walter Mara coming into a new country and has a massive price tag attached to him. I think he's got a lot of pressure on him. And Asula's just kind of like the little yappy underdog, isn't he? And I think that kind of gives him a little bit of freedom to, instead of thinking, okay, I've got to do this, I've got to be very regimental, he gets the ball and he's just like, okay, let's see what I can do. And I think that works
Yeah,
for him. And we've seen that he gets in the box, he scores. And don't get me wrong, a lot of his goals are very scrappy. He's often either misfooted a ball just before he scores, or he's somehow scissor kicked one in after he's absolutely missed the chance. But I love it and it works. I'm all for us keeping Willis Sula for at least the next couple of years.
I mean, I love him running. I think he better, as we say, I think he's for me, he's running. He looks like Bambi on ice, but actually at times he's actually doing okay. He's doing a canny little job there. So I think it's a strange one because, as I say, he's not orthodox and he's never going to look like he's a in control. But I think sometimes he in his brain knows what he's doing.
Oh
So
yeah.
yeah,
I mean, it works at the end of the day. Even if he doesn't know what he's doing, as long as it keeps working, I'm more than happy for Will to just play his game. Like, just keep doing it.
So, I mean, the second point on that game that I've wrote down is about Hall's substitution. Did you find that one
Haha.
a little bit strange at half time? I know you weren't on the Monday, so probably didn't get much of a talk on this one. Did you find that one a bit? And we'll probably come on to Hall a little bit more later on. But did you find that one a bit of a strange substitution?
I did, but to be fair to me, Lewis Hall's been our like shining light this season. Like for all of the negativity that you can put out this previous games this season, Lewis Hall's been the one like real good plus point of like, oh well, at least we've got Lewis Hall. At least Lewis Hall played well. Lewis Hall's had another good game. So bringing him off, and I mean, apparently it was for tactical reasons. I know he didn't look very happy about being subbed off. And I don't blame him. I mean, he's one of the more passionate lads in our team. I've always said I feel like if we can keep him for a good few years, then he could be a captain, very much in the Bruno mould of the fact that he just plays in a way that I think can inspire the rest of the team. So
Yeah.
yeah, bringing him off, especially when he's not only one of our more sound defensive players who's made probably the least amount of individual errors, but he's also going forward being our major outlet from defence moving forward. Like when he gets the ball, you never think, oh, he's just going to pass that sideways. There's always a chance he's going to run at a player, take a player on, try something creative. So to take that out of your team, especially when you're in search of a goal. And with the pressure being on, I was probably as surprised as Lewis Hall seemed to be with that substitution.
Yeah, I think he was disappointed, wasn't he, Hall himself, by the look of it. He
Definitely,
didn't
yeah.
look a happy little chappy on the bench. It just seems a bit of a strange one when, for me, that Tino wasn't playing very well and hasn't played well since he's got back, and obviously still was getting back from injury, but he decided to change Hall. And Hall, I think, has been one of the positives for this season, which will go. That's me coffee, which will go
Oh
through.
no.
But Hall's been like a great player this season, and I think it's a little bit of a strange one trying to justify him getting the one that was subbed off. So final thing from that game, because there wasn't many things that we can take out of that were positive, but I think the big one was getting our Captain Bruno back. Do you think that's going to make a
Yes.
big difference towards the end of this season?
Oh, absolutely. I think Bruno's such an important player for the team. He just seems to control things. And it was lovely to see him back after his injury. I think that's going to give the rest of the players a good lift because I mean he is the club captain and he's very respected and he, as we've all said, he gets this club and he gets it big time. He wears his heart on his sleeve, and I think having Bruno back in the team, especially with this final run in, considering the loss. Some people have started looking down the table and just doing the maths quickly. Not me, because I don't do the maths, but doing the maths quickly and being like, hang on, is there a chance we could get relegated here? And now that we've, having Bruno back, we had a stat earlier in the season where it was like, okay, we don't win unless Bruno's on the pitch. Well, Bruno's back now, and it was nice to see him get a little run out. It's going to set him up nicely. We've not rushed him back too much. He had a nice little performance again yesterday, so I don't think there can be anything but positive feelings for the fact that we've got Bruno back.
100%. He's Captain Marvelous at times, isn't he?
Yes.
I think I think the thing with Bruno is it's about himself. He's sort of such a positive person and such a, I'm sure, an inspiring guy around the training ground and in the stadium when he's playing. I'm
Mhm.
sure the players, some of them just watch him and think, bloody hell, but I wish I could get myself up like you for every game, because even when he's not playing well, he's up and he's G'ing the fans up and he's keeping everybody sort of involved in the game. I think he's a great lad to have around. So yeah, I think that's a big positive having him back for the last few games. So
Absolutely.
I think we've got a couple of chats I'm going to go through, but before we do, I think we should get you involved a little bit more in the show. So what I'm going to do today is ask you to name a song for each position in the team. So what I mean is the player that plays in that position and a song that the fans have sung for them. So we'll start with goalkeeper. So basically, which goalkeeper songs can you remember? And we'll do it as we go through the show. We'll do each position. So I'm sure you've got some as well, Tina.
I've
Um,
got one for goalkeeper already, but I think somebody, because I can only think of one goalkeeper that's ever had a song, so I'm clutching on to that one, but I'm sure somebody's going to put that one in the chat. But yeah, I've done a
yeah.
little bit of research on this. I know a couple of songs, so yeah, I think that's going to be a fun one. So yeah, drop them in the chat, everyone. I know Wazza's going to love this one because Wazza loves his player songs.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Wazza can
just
make some up for because he's actually quite good at making them up. I
it's
mean,
going to be difficult
some
to
of them
see what they.
so, some of them are unbroadcastable what he actually brings up, but he does make up some good songs. So there's been a couple of chats come through. So Boaky, are you looking at the Spurs game now as Eddie Howe will never win another game? Yeah, because he's all what's that, excuses, and yeah, mate. I think we are looking at we're not looking at Spurs for being relegated. Let's face it, we're not going to get relegated. But I do think we do have to take games seriously. That's a major point that we need to do. And before I move on to the next chat, just to go with this one, Pusiak again, the gift of the membership. Mate, you are absolutely
Pussy.
brilliant. Great supporter of the channel, and thank you very much for everything you do for us. Again, another good supporter. The channel adds there. What can you defend? Is starting? How can you spend? I suppose we need to starting Willock and Murphy. Should have started Voltamada with Usula right wing, Bombs left wing. Burns should never play left back again, which I completely agree with. Wake up, Eddie. Hi to the brilliant Boaky and Christina. I think he means the brilliant Christina and Boaky, basically.
No, he's,
And
he's he's definitely been a big fan of yours, and if we do get a chance to come on to the Arsenal game, which I'm guessing we're going to do at the end, so I'll not answer that just yet. But I do have some thoughts on that from yesterday.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll definitely move on to the Arsenal game. Bershaw need to be moved on as the Bull 34, which is old, and we can be sentimental. We need to be ruthless. I completely agree with that. In regards to this season, we do need to be a little bit more ruthless than we have with players getting moved on. I think one thing is you do need to keep one of them. I think the major rebuild that we're going to have to do this season is a nightmare anyway. So I think one of them has to stay. I know who
Sure.
Tina will choose, but I think Byrne's the one actually under contract. So I think potentially it'll be Byrne that stays. And just to say, the person that got the Prosaic's gifted membership was James Kirby. So James, welcome to the channel, and we hope that you renew that membership as we move on. So if we
Take
move
full
on now,
advantage of that while you've got it as well. Even if you can't afford to resub, or you've got other channels to sub to, while you've got that, absolutely take advantage of it. We've got so many shows that go member only after they've been live, or there's some shows that are just for members, such as the breakdown of the player scores, which Michael and Ian do. So do just check out the member section of the channel, take full advantage of it, and enjoy that membership.
yeah, there's some great chats coming here through here, lads and lasses. Thank you very much for them and keep them coming. So we'll move on to the next topic, Tina. So again, you were away Monday. So what we discussed was firstly Shearer calling out Gordon in regards to potentially not being injured when it was reported he was. What were your thoughts on that?
I think with that, the the problem here is the bad timing of what Eddie said in that press conference. I think what he said in the press conference was more aimed at other players. I don't know if that was directly at Gordon, but then Gordon got this hip injury, and then he was out of the next game. So the fact that Eddie Howe had just said, players who don't want to be here aren't going to play, and then the next game, Anthony Gordon, who's been a stalwart for the team all season, almost first name on the lineup, all of a sudden isn't even on the subs bench. So I get where the rumours of that came from. And I mean, look, Alan Shearer, he's one of us, isn't he? I mean, if you watch Match of the Day clips from through the Ashley years, he was devastated, and he does still take this supporting Newcastle United and being a Geordie very seriously. So I think he's kind of the same as us, and we see a lot of people in chat and a lot of people, even a lot of the panellists questioning some of the players' desire to be here, some of the players' heart. And I think with what happened with Alexander at the in the summer as well, and at the back end of last season, I think that's still in people's minds, because we've seen what an insane impact that's had on us for this season. And I think now any player who looks like they've given up, people are reacting very emotionally. I think that's kind of what Shearer's doing. He's almost risking becoming our answer to Roy Keane, how Roy Keane keeps going on, punditry shows and calling out Manchester United players. I think Alan Shearer's kind of moving into that kind of spectrum for us. I think it is a legitimate injury. I would certainly hope it is. I think if there is anything more than that, then the fact that Eddie Howe has taken him out the side, I think is a good sign, because over the last, definitely yesterday and over the past week or so, it has looked like Eddie Howe has started to be like, okay, no more Mr. Nice Guy, I need to get this done. My job's on the line here. So I'm happy with either reason. For obviously not happy if Anthony Gordon has down tools, but I get where Shearer's coming from. I think it's a legit injury, and I'm more than happy for Shearer to have that passion. If he does ever come back to this club, whether that's as an ambassador or as anything to do with this club, I think he's keeping himself in good stead. The fact that he's already fingers in the pie, he's already calling out what he sees, and he's broadcasting that without any fear. The only thing I would say is, Alan, just in case it is a real injury, just don't make the players hate us.
Yeah, definitely. Just a quick question there from Christopher Hopkins, I think for both who were. Question: we've scored 42 goals in 34 games. Time to sell our front three and start again, because we've wasted over £300 million on 9 goals. To be honest, I would say yes to that, but I don't think we'll get the money back on them, mate. That would be the big issue. I think we've got to take into account how much we've played for these lads. I think Voldemort will come good. I think he will be a great player for Asula, as I've said earlier in the show. I think he'll be okay as time moves on. Wissa, I've got major concerns about. I don't know what you feel, Tina.
I'll be honest, my opinion on this has changed slightly after watching the game yesterday. I always thought Walter Mata was going to become good. I've said for a while, his second season for us, he's going to be an absolute beast of a player. And I still very, very much believe that. And I think we saw a couple of flashes yesterday that's just kind of made me feel a little bit more sure of myself with that quote. But, I mean, Wissa's age obviously works against him. The fact that we're not going to make our money back on him might be worth giving him another year, but I think unless we signed some sort of very good creative midfielder, I think it might set us up for a bit of a nervy start of the season as far as fans are concerned if we do start next season with the same front three. But, I mean, we do have the summer to work with them. I know the World Cup's there, which is a bit of a shame because it means we're not going to have our players for the whole time, but a lot of them would have been away on break anyway. So I'm not as adverse to us. I'm definitely not in the camp of we need to get rid of these 3 players right now and replace them. I'm more in the, okay, Asula's good, Walter Mata's good, Wissa I still believe can be good. But if we did move him on, I would understand that. As long as we are then upgrading, maybe try to get maybe try to bring Rasmus Højlund back to the Premier League, or see if there's another little hidden gem out there in South America, because that seems to be where a lot of our scouting is based. I think bringing in like an absolute worldie like a Dusan Vlahovic or a Victor Osimhen, whose name I'm going to butcher every time, I apologise for that, chat. And bringing in one of them, I think we'd probably have to see Toon Army leave, or another big name leave, before we could free up the funds for a transfer like that. Obviously, if that changes, I'll absolutely have Osimhen wearing our number 9 next season. I would not turn that down. But as it stands, I think we need to kind of believe that the players who we've got are going to be capable of delivering if we do end up keeping them.
Yeah, 100%. I think it's a tough decision, and it's a one that's going to have to be made this summer. Wilson is obviously in place now. Can he get a little bit of money back on one of those players? I don't know. I think the one that you could sell for a profit 100% is Asula. But again, are you wanting to do that because he's been the best player we've got?
Exactly. I definitely do not want to sell Asula. He's the only player who's bagging goals in for us now.
Yeah, 100%.
And like I say, it's crazy. I would definitely prefer. He's one of them people, when you talk when you're at school, and there's like a mean lass, or I guess in your lad, like a mean lad, and you think, I'd rather be their friend than their enemy. I would much prefer to have Will Asula cause an absolute mayhem up front for us than our defence ever having to deal with him, because he's so unpredictable. I think it's better to have that joker in your pack than it being somebody else's.
100%, 100%. Just a little bit, chat, you're letting us down a little bit. Come on, surely if you can think of a song for a goalkeeper that we've had.
Should I get the ball started? Because I've got
Go on
one.
then.
It's a
I think
very
it'll be the
basic
same one as me.
Are you thinking Pavel Srnicek?
Oh, no, I'm not.
Well, I was just thinking, and it's not really much of a song. It was just, Pavel is a Geordie, Pavel is a... So it's very basic, but it was a song.
Ole.
Ole, 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 ole. And it is, I know that it's not a great song, but it is a song for a goalkeeper. Who do you have? I can't even think of another goalkeeper with a song.
Nick Pope in the middle of our goal.
Oh, nice. I didn't even know Pope had a song. I'd imagine we don't sing that very often now, considering he seems to play defensive midfield randomly and nearly gets sent off in the middle of every game. But I'm sure we'll come on to that later.
We will. So we'll move
me.
on. A song for a right back that we've had in the team. So come on, chat. You've got to try to find a song for a right back. Anyway, moving on, Tina. The next thing that was on Monday Night Show was the second rule that seems to be introduced for Eddie Howe on if the players have fire in the belly. What did you think about him taking so long to answer that question?
The what? The 7-second rule?
Well, Eddie Howe in his press conference was asked if the players had fire in the belly for the rest of the season, basically. Then he took 7 seconds to answer the question.
Right. Okay, that's an interesting question. I think it's worrying that he took a second to think about that. I think it means that his answer was more thought of. It is a little bit concerning that he's not just said yes, absolutely, because surely if you've got the players who have got that fire in their belly, you just know they do. So it is starting to lean towards the thought of, is there something going on in the dressing room? Has he lost a little bit? But at the same time, maybe he's trying to be a little bit more deliberate, because he probably does see a lot of people calling him out for his press conferences and how he always kind of promises things going for. I think was it Bruno who came out and kind of said, look, the time, or it might have been Trippier actually, who said, look, the time for talking's finished. We can keep promising you this week after week and not delivering, or we can shut up and we can go out there and we can do something about it. And I think that's kind of where the players' heads have to be. I think Eddie is maybe being a little bit cautious about, saying, oh yeah, these players are definitely up for... But at the same time, if I was manager, and, let's face it, one day I probably will be, but if I was manager of Newcastle United, I would have came out and undoubtedly said yes, because then if the players were listening, they would kind of pick up on that energy. But I'm always on that vibes equals vibes kind of trail, which is probably picked up on while I'm on here already. I just think maybe there's something going on with like the way Eddie's talked about. Look, if you don't want to be here, I'm not going to play you. If you come back late for training when you go away to play for a national team, I'm not going to play. So I think maybe he's stopped protecting the players as much as he was to try to get more out of them. Maybe stop mollycoddling them a little bit. And I mean, to be fair, there's a man called Elon Musk who like does Tesla and owns like PayPal, and I think he owns that Twitter platform. And if you watch when he speaks, he always takes ages to answer a question, and people put that down to him being well thought and thinks out his answers. So I think I'm going to kind of hope that that's what Eddie was doing in that one. What were your thoughts on that when he didn't answer straight away?
I think with Eddie, I think the problem is he's been so well media trained and he's been so good at answering questions since he came to Newcastle. Now that they are getting a little bit tougher in the press conferences, and you do have to say they have changed the way they are asking questions. When you watch them now, it's not sort of what you're having for your tea. They are asking probing questions, which
does
was always
Pokemon tell good jokes?
yeah, which it is a good thing. It means he is beginning to get, sort of picked up on little things. But again, it's a difficult one because I mean, you do want him to think out his answers, but I think if you asked about your players like that, if you're confident in your players and you love your players, the quick change is, to say, yes, I love Newcastle. My players all love Newcastle United and they all want to play. But I think from this season, he can't really say that. I think, there are a couple there that I think it's getting pretty obvious wanting to get away. They don't want to be at Newcastle, it's a difficult one. But for me, I think it was a strange result delay that we had for somebody who's so well media trained.
And I mean, except for the game last week and the game last week and the game before that, except for that, I have never questioned the players' fire. And I think we saw yesterday. I think we'll get onto it, but I think there was definitely fire there. So it is a bit weird that he hasn't just answered that question and just put all of the doubts to rest. Like, yes, of course, my players are up for this. Because and we would say, well, that's not Eddie's style. But we did definitely see Eddie get vexed with what's his name, Lee. Oh, I can't remember his name, but he was asking about the Gordon injury, and Eddie Howe was just like, yes, he's injured. Please, almost saying like, please just shut up and move on. But was that with a good point in chat there? Smash those likes, guys and dolls.
Yeah, guys and dolls. Yep, definitely was. I thank you very much for that, mate. So we'll move on to the next one before we look for the song for the right back. We have had one in the chat. The last thing on Monday that we discussed quite a lot in the show was whether Jose would be right for Newcastle. So whether Jose Mourinho would be the next choice if we did decide to change manager. What would your thoughts be on that one, Tina?
Obviously, I'm more than happy for us to keep Eddie Howe. I'm definitely not Eddie Howe out yet by any stretch of the imagination. But if it's not going to be Eddie Howe next season, I'd be more than happy to see Jose Mourinho. I think he's the ideal man. And yes, it's going to be chaos and it might end up, ending in tears. But I watched an interview last week that Bobby Robson was given about Jose Mourinho just after Jose had joined Chelsea for the first time, and the way that Bobby Robson speaks of him. And do you remember when Bobby Robson used to speak about Newcastle United, and every time he would speak about this team, there would be like almost a little tearing up in his eyes, and there was like that pride, and you could see it and you could feel it through the screen every time he spoke. That's how he was talking about Jose. And he was talking about how, because Jose was his translator for like 6 years, and he went with him from Porto over to Barcelona, and he's picked up a lot from Bobby Robson. He's went from that to being one of the most successful managers in club football history. And I think, if you're looking for a manager who's going to get respect, who's not going to, be all friendly and happy and give have them soft press conferences, Jose Mourinho is the exact shot of adrenaline that you would want for this club. And I know a lot of people say, he's past it. But I mean, look, he's 1 year older than Bobby Robson was when he came here. And Bobby Robson was still very much capable of putting together a fantastic Newcastle United side when he did come in. And he had all the respect of the players. Like, they used to have team lunches. People didn't used to stand up and leave until Bobby Robson had finished eating. And when you've got that level of respect, he's got the ties to Newcastle. And I think in my little fairy tale heart of hearts, that's how Jose Mourinho's story has to end, with him coming to Newcastle United and just even if it's just for 2 years, just come in, just do your thing, put some passion back into this team. What do you think of Jose?
I'd love to see Jose at Newcastle. I just think
Absolutely.
the whole atmosphere around the place would lift. I just think it would be, as you say, he's not going to be here. I've said on the show, he'll probably be here for 2 to 3 years, but I think it would be 2 to 3 years on a roller coaster of fun. So I think that's the one for me. I think he'd be an amazing person to have around the club. And I just think he'd give Newcastle United that little bit more of a name around the world. It would be broadcast out everywhere. Jose was coming to Newcastle. Let's face it, there's still media outlets that call we're the world's richest club, even though we can't spend the money. So, I think the world's richest club get Jose Mourinho, probably one of the world's best ever managers. So, yeah, I think it would be fun times, but it would be very interesting. Everyone know for a fact he'd have a hissy fit with somebody, and things would potentially go a little bit wrong. But
It'll give us something to talk about, though, won't it?
That's it. Honestly, I'd love it if we came on this channel and he was in charge, because how many conversations is he going to start, and how much is he going to divide people? Because he is like Marmite. You either love him or you hate him. For me, I love him. I just love the way he goes on. And just quickly picking up on Bobby Robson there, I used to love Bobby Robson when he did get excited because he couldn't get his words out. He was trying to say so many different things at once that he couldn't actually speak. So when he was talking about things that were good, he'd be going down like quick different routes, because obviously all these things that were good were going through his brain. He was a great guy, Bobby Robson, and sadly missed in the game. Really sadly missed.
And just in regards to people who are saying that Jose Mourinho has passed his best as well. I mean, look at what he's done at Benfica. Like, he's definitely still got the ability to put together a great team. And as he said in a Manchester United interview, do you know what 3 means? 3 Premiership trophies for him, and he has more Premiership trophies himself than a lot of other managers in the league put together. So put some respect on his name.
Yeah, he did that interview where he went just respected, and he walked out of it. Respect.
Yeah, which and I love that. That's what we need. Like, don't come at our manager. A manager who's just going to be like, no, you know what? You shut up. You respect me. I love that. I think that's exactly what this team needs. If you want dark arts brought back to Newcastle United, Jose Mourinho is the man for the job.
Do you know what? As well, if you chucked him in front of Craig Hope, I think them two would have some really good ding dongs. I don't think Craig Hope would particularly like him, so I think he'd actually go back to the dark Craig Hope that actually calls managers out, like he did under Howe. Like he did under Bruce. So I think it would be really interesting, really, really interesting. Right, so right back, Tina. Did you have a song for a right back? I think we had one from Truls. Was it in the chat saying Kieran Trippier over the wall?
See, I hadn't thought of that one. I'm sure Happy Bay had a song, but as far as I can remember, it's just the same song that I plan on using for one of our centre midfielders. But we do have other centre midfielders, so I'm going to pop it out now, which I think was just Happy Bay, Happy Bay, Happy Bay. But that's the only one I can think of.
The one I thought it's the same song as Trippier, but it was God, what was his name? Taylor.
Ryan Taylor.
Ryan Taylor over the wall.
Ryan Taylor over the wall.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think who else we had, because I think we would have probably had one for like Stevie Watson or Barry Venison. I think Venison and a left back that will probably come on who had a very similar song, so I've not dropped that one yet. But yeah, we've not had a lot of right backs who have had. So I'm trying to think if there surely is one or two more
For a right back. definitely. So we'll have to go with two centre backs or two centre back songs, two songs that we've had for centre backs while at the club. So that's the next one for you to be thinking about. Whilst we move on to Tuesday, and the news circulated that Eddie Howe was good in role. Sorry, did you see that, and do you think that's true? Do you think he is safe for the time being?
I mean, I don't see any reason why not. It's one of those dreaded vote of confidence things that people are going to look on is if his job's so safe, why are PIF or the CEO coming out and saying it? Like, surely if it's safe, just keep quiet. But clearly they're hearing the noise, and I think if the end of this season is catastrophic and we end like in the bottom four, then we might have to look at that and be like, okay, maybe his job's not so safe. But I think if we end the season a little bit better than we have had for the previous time in the season, and the players do start showing that they are still playing for Eddie, I see no reason not to give them the summer where we've got the backroom staff in, and just see how next season starts. I don't think his job's as safe as they're saying. Like I say, I think they are looking at it, because they step back a bit from, Eddie Howe's going to be the manager for many years, to, well, we're hoping for a good end of the season. And it's like, all right, you've changed that sentence slightly since earlier on in the year, haven't you?
We'll do a little review.
Yeah, exactly, and it's kind of changed the vibe of it. But again, I mean, it is one bad season, and there are, he is still a manager who has given us all for the club, and if his head and heart's still in it, then I don't see any reason why we would have to get rid of him. I know you probably feel slightly different about that than me, but
I just think, I mean, but everybody knows what my opinion is, so it's just pointless putting it out there again. But in regards to this, I think the one thing I would say is we do need to make a decision before the end of the season. So, if he's going to go, it needs to be released, and we need to know that that's what's going to happen. If he's going to stay, we need to know that. And that's simply down to so the players know what's happening, the fans know what's happening, and the club is got a good structure in place. I think any sort of sound bites just still coming out about Eddie over the summer isn't going to help the situation at all. So, yes, I think it's a difficult position to be in, because it's the first time we've ever had a cup-winning manager who is potentially going to get sacked. And how the hell do we justify that in our own heads? Even if you're the most ardent Eddie Howe fan, I don't think you can turn around and say he hasn't done good for the club. So it's a weird one. It's we're going to sack the manager that's basically brought with glory. I think the best thing that can happen is if it's going to happen, it's sort of a mutual decision, and Eddie walks away from the club. And he's always sort of still a hero in the area. And if he stays, he's got to turn it around in the first. We've notoriously been slow starters in the league. If this goes into next season and we start the league slowly again, it's going to be absolutely nightmare for him at St. James's Park, to be fair to him.
And
We've got a super chat there from Wazaf. Do you want to read it out? Or?
I will indeed. It's a good day, Boaky. Were you on the glug yesterday? You're looking a little bit rough. I think she might be recovering from some alcoholic beverages.
I haven't had alcohol. I've got a bit of a sore tooth, so I'm struggling with that a little bit, but I wish I had a good gold glug yesterday. I'm sure you did, mate. I'm sure you had another one of those cans of Guinness that were in your fridge, and thank you very much for supporting me again there, mate. It's very much appreciated. And you've made us lose me place. So, well, the other thing that we discussed on Tuesday was, do we still think it was a good transfer window? I know you weren't on the channel when the transfer obviously was the transfer window was open, the first one in the summer, Tina. But what do you think about that window now, looking back on it?
I mean, I think it was an underwhelming window in overall. I think the Isaac saga kind of shot us in the foot a lot, because it stopped us from committing to going for Hugo Ekitike. And then because we weren't going to sell Isaac, Liverpool took Ekitike, which I think he would have been the player who Eddie Howe wanted. But I think there was still a hope at the club that we could somehow turn it around with Isak and keep him in. And because he was like the new popular striker up here, I can understand why they did try to keep him. And there was other players such as Benjamin Sesko that we were, rumoured to be going in. We were rumoured for Smith. So there were some pretty exciting names that we were rumoured for, and then we brought in Elanga, who I was actually quite excited for. Elanga, I was basing that on seeing him for Nottingham Forest, and I thought he's going to be fantastic for us. Absolutely an upgrade on Miguel Almiron and Jacob Murphy. And then Ramsey, I think that one again, it's you've got to kind of look at Ramsey's performances, because when you look at the transfer itself, it's like, okay, so we've signed a substitute, but he's clearly, he's coming into his own, so he's turned out all right. The Waldemar transfer I was delighted with. I always, when we got him, I was over the moon that we signed Waldemar. And I wasn't super surprised that he has had a little bit of struggles this season, just with him coming into a new club. But I did think, Wissa was going to kind of help us through that period while Waldemar was adapting to the team. I don't think any of us could have predicted that Wissa was going to get such a bad injury. And if he hadn't have got that injury, maybe the transfer window would have looked a bit better. And again, the whole saga with the goalkeeper, with them brought in Ramsdale on loan, who, I don't think he's been any worse than Nick Pope this season. But considering last season, we qualified for Champions League, we won the Carabao Cup. I think people were expecting. Yeah. Sorry, I was just saying. I think people were expecting a big name to come in, and another big, another Tonali, another Bruno, another Bob, somebody with a bit of weight on their name, and I think that's why people are a little bit underwhelmed with the transfer window, in my opinion at least.
We did sign Germany's number 9, to be fair, but
yeah, exactly. But I think from there, though, because we knew that we had tried for Ekitike, we knew that we had tried for João Pedro, we knew that we tried for Benjamin Sesko, so we saw other Premier League teams take the players that we were looking for. And then we signed Waldemar, and I think a lot of people did know who he was, but a lot of people weren't as sure of him as they were about an Ekitike or a Sesko or a João Pedro. So I think and I think there was rumours that we were going to be going for Mbeumo as well, and he went to Manchester United. So we were seeing a lot of other clubs take the players that we considered our first choice players. Even Trafford ended up going to Manchester City. How'd that work out for you? And yeah, I think because of that, people were a little bit underwhelmed. But Waldemar is one of the most exciting talents in Germany. So, and I think if we keep faith in him, next season people are going to be absolutely heralding that transfer as one of the best finds in the Premier League for a long time. We do have a super chat there. Yeah.
Yep. Go on then.
So it's from Eddie SK1014, who's a big supporter of the channel, drops a lot of super chats for yourself, and he is saying Boaky and Christina for bright spark this season. So I think
bright sparks, yeah, definitely, especially Tina, been a brilliant addition into the channel.
Oh,
I was slightly here at the end of last season, and I wasn't as negative then. I used to quite like Howe, and then things changed.
But so, that just shows, though. Obviously, it's not just, you're not just here saying how out because, and I know you get passionate about it, but you're not just here saying how out just to troll a lot of the time. You're a passionate Newcastle fan, much like myself, and it's just, different people are going to reach that point where they want to see change at different areas of their on the timeline, and obviously you reached yours and haven't been very happy with the team's performances, and I can see why, and you're not seeing a spark from the manager that you maybe feel like we need, and I get it. It's understandable. I've always said I can understand both sides of the argument. I can just see more in Eddie Howe's plus column than I can in his negative column. But you're not always negative, Boaky, on match days. You always come in and have a good positive vibe. So it's not just a negative Nancy.
Yeah. Phil's asking us there, can I name a backup number 9 for Germany? To be honest, mate, I can't. So, I'll always be honest on the channel. I wouldn't have a clue who Germany's second choice striker would be. Would you, Tina, at all? Or I know
I
we
mean,
don't watch much European football, do we?
I, I might be way off. I think he might be Belgium actually. I thought Havertz was German to be honest, but I might be wrong with that. I don't know a lot about the German national side outside of the game that they played quite recently. So no, quite honestly, I couldn't name many of the German side. I will be able to after this summer, because it's World Cup season. I can name you who they had on them like 4 years ago, if that's any help. And after summer, when we watch the World Cup, I'm sure I'll be able to give you a rundown of what I think of every player in the Germany squad. But right now, unfortunately, I cannot.
So just quickly, then we'll do the two before we do was a super chat. We'll do the two centre backs. So did you have a song for one at least of a centre back, Dave?
I've got a song for two centre backs in one.
Ooh, go on then.
Liam O'Brien, Andy O'Brien, Annie O'Brien, O'Brien.
Brilliant. So mine would have been Colaccini. Oh, Colaccini, you are the love of my life. Oh, Colaccini, I'll let you sleep with my wife. Yeah.
Oh, Colaccini, we want curly hair too.
Yeah. I don't think we've got to be quite as careful now, so I don't think that one's too bad a song.
Just throw it out there.
And the other one was a little bit further back, Philip Albay, which is a song towards Roop at the Bay. Everyone knows his name, Philippe Albay. Yep.
Everyone knows his name. I love that one. Yeah.
Yeah. So we'll go with left backs now. So any song for a left back. And before we do that, do you want to do was a super chat there? Because it's praising you up, Tina.
Was a super chat saying you are echoing my rant yesterday, Tina. Amazing.
Yeah,
so thank you again
very
for
much,
all of the support and the super chats. Was always very complimentary to myself. Had me feeling really good before the Arsenal game yesterday with a couple of super chats. Always comes in there. We see you, my friend. We see you, and we absolutely love the support that you give this channel.
Yeah, 100%. So we'll move on to Wednesday. Again, the news really started to slow down this week. The only thing that was mentioned was the new stadium again. Really. Do you think there's any movement on that, Tina? Do you think we are moving forward and getting a new stadium, or do you think we're just going to keep hearing rumours up till 2030 saying, yeah, we're looking at a new stadium?
I mean, I think over the next year or so, we are going to see how this is going to develop. Whether that is going to be an extension on St James's Park, or at least tying down a actual area of the city for us to build the new stadium. I don't think we've moved. I think the thing is, I do believe that behind the scenes they are looking at potential places to put the ground. And I think they are working on it. I don't think they're just kind of like seeing it and not doing anything. But I don't think we're any closer to seeing any plans finalised than we have been all year. And I might be wrong in that. But I mean, I don't think any of us are going to believe it until we actually see something start happening.
That's it. It just seems to be every time we're having a bad run, the stadium comes out in the training ground, doesn't it?
It does. I mean, at least we've finally got a sponsor for the training ground, so we're moving in the right direction now. So there's definitely some things happening. But yeah, I'm not convinced that there's been any further finalised plans. We found a new place that we might put the stadium, and then a couple of weeks time we found another place where we could fit a stadium. I mean, some of the places that they're talking about doesn't even have space for the car park for the stadium. Never mind the actual full stadium.
I mean, I do have to admit up to something with the stadium. Me and Kevin got talking about it, and he was winding me up, and I was winding him up, and it started to get tongue in cheek. And I says, just the people at Lee's Terrace should move out, and let buy that. But to be honest, I know people live there and people have their livelihoods there, so that was really tongue in cheek. It wasn't wasn't real. But if you can move out, guys, please do. It really would help us. So,
I mean, fair, at least you were polite about it.
Oh, I wasn't.
Can you not just find a new home so that we can build over yours?
Can we please move yours on? So Thursday brought the main thing on Thursday was around the keepers at the club and what we're going to do with keepers. So it's not very often you have a little chat about keepers, but we will. So in regards to this, the big one was that we're potentially going to be going in for Trafford again. Do you agree with that one? Probably cost about 35-40 million.
Up until yesterday, no. After yesterday, yes. I'd probably say we need 2 goalkeepers now, unless we're going to pay the wages that Ramsdale's asking for. I
Yeah.
have lost a little bit of faith in Nick Pope, I'm not gonna lie. But yeah, I mean Trafford probably wants the move now because it's not really worked out in Manchester City. I'm not delighted that we were a second choice. But Trafford and Rissler starting as our 2 goalkeepers next season. Although, to be fair, that means Trafford's going to end up on the bench for half a season again. But I would quite like to see something like that. And I do think, although we kind of downplayed the goalkeeper position as we were leading up to January, I think now it is looking a little bit like we might need to shore up things at the back. I mean, Nick Pope's no spring chicken. We need to make a decision on Ramsdale, whether we're going to pay that. I mean, he's got quite a small transfer fee for us to complete that, but his wages are quite high for a goalkeeper that I wouldn't really want to see as the first choice goalkeeper. I think whether we bring in Trafford or Rissler, I think both of those would be your first choice goalkeeper. So do you really want to be paying £140,000 a week to your backup goalkeeper? Especially when we've got 6 other backup goalkeepers who are just wearing dressing gowns online for us, for the shop, and they're also bringing in wages. So we've probably got enough goalkeepers that are stealing a living at the moment without adding Ramsdale to that list. I don't know how you feel about the goalkeeper situation.
For me, I think Trafford. Trafford has
Just see
to
what that
we'll
super chat,
go do
sorry.
that because I can't do that one. I'll let you do the super chat first.
So Wazza has drafted another £2 super chat saying that he's seen Boaky putting rats through letterboxes yesterday around Lisa's terrace. That tickled us, I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, definitely.
Boaky, the one-man mission to get them to move out.
To be fair, I think we should clarify this. It was pictures of the rats, so I put pictures of So I put pictures of Isaac around there.
Just posting pictures of Isaac through people's doors.
Yeah, definitely. So in regard, sorry that tickled us. In regards to goalkeepers, I think we do need a first choice goalkeeper. I don't think either of the ones are good enough. I think the big question is whether it's Pope that stays, so we'll keep Pope, and
Oh,
sorry, do you keep Ramsdale? Do you sell Pope? There's a big choice to be made there, and for me, I don't think it really matters either. I think they're very, very the negatives that outweigh the positives.
yeah.
The only thing I would say, it's probably the only chance you're going to get some money back on Pope, and you're always going to be able to sell Ramsdale for the next couple of seasons, probably for what you pay for him.
I think the problem with Pope is that he's an absolute lunatic now, isn't it? Like, I mean, he's like no, I mean, I don't mean that. Like, but we've seen him just, like, randomly sprint up the pitch against. Again, I think it was Marseille, but I might have the game wrong. Where he got himself in a bit of trouble, and he put us in a lot of trouble. And I don't see that changing. I would have thought a little bit of time out of the team, he'd come back and he'd just be serious. I mean, don't get us wrong. That man can save a shot. There was a save that he did yesterday, which we'll come on to. Absolutely top draw. But then he also runs up and tries to be a centre midfielder, which Nick Pope cannot do. I know you see Diego, what's his name? Diogo. Oh, what's his name? The Portugal goalkeeper, Diogo Costa.
Come on then.
So you see him. He can receive a ball at the back, and he can play in that kind of sweeper keeper role. Fantastic. Let him do that. Nick Pope cannot do that. Nick Pope makes me feel more nervous than anything else. And bear in mind, I've done a driving test. I've done interviews for jobs. I work a public-facing job. Like, I have done some nervy things in my life. But when Nick Pope gets past the ball and he's outside his box, my heart jumps into my mouth faster than I can even think of the fact that my heart's going to do that. He does not fill me with confidence. He gets lost halfway up the pitch. He doesn't know how to get back. I mean, he's an absolute mad lad. And I mean, I love it. I get it. It kind of fits the vibe of Newcastle, but goodness me, I could do without those heart attacks next season.
I suppose the other question is, do you think Trafford would actually come? I mean, by the looks of it at this point, we're not going to have European football. At Man City, he's probably going to get a few chances playing potentially Champions League in regards to Pep rotating the squad. Do you think Trafford wants away? Do you think he wants a challenge of Newcastle they were a mid-table team this season.
I think if we were going to guarantee him to be first choice, I think he would. Outside of that, possibly not. It might be a shout that he would prefer to stay at Manchester City. I think at his point in his career, though, he does want to be first choice goalkeeper, and I don't think he's going to get in there ahead of Donnarumma, unless they move Donnarumma on. So I think Newcastle would be a good choice for him. I think he's got a real chance to come in and establish himself, but there are teams who are getting into those European positions who might be looking for new goalkeeper as well. So even if he does leave Manchester City, I think there is a chance that we are going to face a little bit of competition for his signature.
Yeah, I definitely think so. I think Aston Villa are potentially the favourites for his signature on, especially if they get Champions League football. So yeah, I think it's going to be a challenging summer in regards to players across the whole spectrum of the team, because there's so many potential places that we've got to backfill and also potentially fill in regards to first team regulars. It's going to be a strange old transfer window. It's going to be exciting.
Busy, but at least it means that this channel is not going to get boring just because the football's not on. We're not just going to be talking about the World Cup. We're going to have plenty of Newcastle United news all through the summer, with this transfers coming and going and this whole rebuild that's going to probably have to happen. So at least we'll have plenty to keep our lovely chatters involved in with the channel over the summer. That's the only positive 100%. I can put on that, I'm afraid.
So we'll move on to Friday, and a little bit of sad news. Wynn's retired from doing the press conferences.
Yes, which unfortunately most people had forgotten before that press conference started. And
yeah, so we apologise to everybody again that it was missed. But I think that's the big thing. He's took that England hat and he's off into the sunset on the press conferences. So I think we've got to respect and love him for as long as we've got him now in the other chats as well, haven't we? So
yeah. I mean, I think, and to be fair to Wynn, I think if the press I think if Jose Mourinho comes in, I think he might come back for a little swan song on that side. But getting up early in the morning, watch a press conference that's almost always the same questions is probably we can put spins on it, but I think Wynn's just he's at a point now where he's got plenty of other shows. He's on here all the time. He's one of the main leaders of the channel. So I think we can allow him a little bit of it. It's like when people give up their international career to just concentrate on their club career. I think we can accept Wynn doing that from those press conferences.
Do you know what? I love Wynn because we're as pig-headed as each other. We'll look at things through completely different spectrums, but we're both as pig-headed as each other at times. And sort of, he has his view and I have my view, but end of the day we can go out for a pint together and just have a laugh. So it's good. It's great being with somebody like Wynn on the channel. So should we move on?
2 years are kind of needed. I mean, I've sat in the middle of many an argument between you and him, but there's always a camaraderie at the end of it, which is somewhat nice to see, and it's good for the channel. We do have a question in there from ADSK. If you want to highlight that one, which is Boaky and Christina, how many players do you think we need to sign this season? I think this is why I've highlighted this, because I think he's memed us halfway through this, because he thinks a minimum of 6-7 players is a must. So I'm not sure if he did that just to meme us, or if that's genuinely how many players he thinks.
The first thing to say is I'm way too old to get this whole 6-7 stuff. I think it's just to confuse people like me. I think once you get in your 40s and people do things like that, you think to yourself, what the hell are you talking about? For this season, you're looking at least one goalkeeper, potentially 2 right backs. A left back would definitely need a centre back, so that's 5. Midfielder, striker, a winger, so at least 8 players.
So yeah, 8 players. And I know DXK he's said, between 8 and I think he went as far as 11 at one point. Not all in regards to the first team, but like you say, we need a left back, but we're not necessarily somebody who's going to replace Lewis Hall. The right back situation is the one that worries me, because we could potentially, if we didn't sign anyone for right back, we could be starting next season with 0.5 of a right back, and that 0.5 is Lewis Miley, because he's a centre midfielder. And he don't get me wrong, he is fantastic at right back, but he's not a right back. He doesn't, he's never going to do a Kieran Trippier and get down the wing and pop a ball in as a cross. He's always going to be more of a centre midfielder playing at right back. And it works in short-term bursts, but I don't think you could start your season with just him and Leo Shahar as your first choice right backs. Now, Leo Shahar being part of the team is, if we can, because he's been England under 21 captain, there's clearly a player there. If we could bring him in to be the substitute or the second choice right back, and we can just bring in like a really good right back, then we should be fine. But then you're thinking, one injury, one knock, and Leo Shahar's your first choice right back, and he wasn't even really given more than 5 minutes against Karabag when we were winning 9-3. So I'm not 100% convinced that Eddie Howe sees him as the answer next season.
100%. I don't think you can go in there thinking Shahar's going to be a first team player. He hasn't had the time this season to be able to be that.
Exactly.
So should we go, that leads on nicely when we're talking about full back. So should we move on to left back in the song? So can you think of a song for a left back, Dina?
I think of Johnny Beresford. I know that there was one that was I put in chat for Babi Yaro, which was the Queen song, Babi Yaro, Babi Yaro, Babi Yaro, let me go, which I don't think was ever legitimate, but I think it was, it is a good sounding song.
It was do you know what I've got to give Wazza his due? That really was a good song. We should have sung that one.
We definitely should have.
The only one I had was for the left back that played yesterday basically. He's
Lewis
from
Hall.
Blythe.
Oh,
He
Dan
never ever
Burn.
beat Dan Burn.
I can't believe I didn't think of that one for centre backs 5 minutes ago. I completely forgot. It's not like we're both living Blythe or anything, Boaky.
So we'll move on to the right midfield. Any song for a player that's played right midfield in the chat? And again, while you do that, we'll move on to the Arsenal game, unfortunately, that we'll have to discuss. Obviously, we're 24 hours on from that. Tina, what did you think of the Arsenal game yesterday?
I'm going to be honest, and I know there's going to be members of chat who aren't going to like this, and you're probably not going to be thrilled about this. I took a lot of positives from that game. In regards to the lineup, look, I looked at the lineup and I was like, okay, this is dreadful. Is Boaky right? Is there been a bust up with Lewis Hall? We got told that it was tactical, and to be fair, except for the fact that the reason that we set that team up was to deal with set pieces, and then their goal came from doing the same set piece 3 times in a row. So in respect to that, would Lewis Hall have maybe tracked that runner and stopped that from happening? You can't take anything away from Ezra's goal. It was an absolute worldie. You could have put Pope and Ramsdale in that goal at the same time, and they are not stopping that shot. You don't stop goals like that, and hats off to him for that. We definitely should have adapted to what they were doing with that short corner. But outside of that, Dan Burn, me and Peter before the game yesterday were talking about Dan Burn's actual stats for winning headers not being as great as you would expect. Yesterday, defensively, he was absolutely fine. He got involved in the attacks a little bit towards the end. I would have liked it if we had utilised that a little bit better. I think, it fell short at the end. Sorry, I've got a little bit of a pain in my chest there, sorry. No panic, it's just heartburn. I just wolfed down some food before I came on. I had to get breakfast in there. And
Nice bacon butty.
Definitely not, because I'm a vegetarian. But I did have some little corn sausages, and I had an egg sandwich. So yeah, I wolfed all of that down because I needed to have my bath and I needed to make sure I looked somewhat presentable for the channel. So I quickly wolfed that down. But yeah, yesterday the disappointing thing for me in yesterday's game is at the end, that last kick of the ball that we had, where we had a free kick and we sent Nick Pope forward, and we didn't even get it to one of our players. We won the second ball, but the referee was already, he had decided he was blowing the whistle straight after that attack. And, he gave us that last attack and we didn't do anything with that. So I think that's something that we definitely need to work on. I think with Trippier no longer being in the team, we need to get Tonali and Bruno delivering those balls to a much better standard. Bruno's free kick earlier on, where we had a chance to create something, went straight to the goalkeeper. Those are the two main negatives that I would take from yesterday. Outside of that, the lineup actually worked pretty well. I think Willis Sula played fantastically. I think it sounds weird because, you know, we did lose, but I think statistically we were the better team in that game, and we looked like we were on the front foot. Bearing in mind we were playing at their stadium as well. I think we created the more chances. I think we had more control of the ball. My fears of Dan Burn at left back did not come to fruition. I think him and Botman, although, you know, I'll be honest, Dan Burn got done a couple of times, but Botman behind him was solid as a rock. And I think the only real thing that worried me defensively was Nick Pope just sprinting halfway the pitch. It's all right, I'll just rugby tackle this bit. No, Nick, you're not allowed to do that, mate. You're not allowed, don't. How he got away without being sent off for that, I still do not know. Because at first I thought, he's just ran into him, he shouldn't be getting a yellow card from that. And then they swept it to the other camera angle. I was like, oh yeah, no, he probably should have been sent off for that. Like, he's just put his arm around that guy's waist. But the substitutes looked good. You know, the lineup that we put out there, I think Ramsey looked good. I think Bruno looked good. He was in control again. I think Tonali looked energetic. He was kicking some pretty good long-range shots. You know, and the substitutes that we made were good. I think Wissa, when he came on, that was the best I've seen him look. Even though he did snatch at a chance, a confident, informed Wissa probably buries that. Could he have went for it with his head? Probably. I think he was caught in two minds, and it's ended up that it just rocked it off his foot. And we're lucky that Artemis 2 came back to Earth last week, because otherwise that one probably would have knocked it out of orbit with the moon with how high it went over the crossbar. But Walter Marder, when he came on, I mean, you know, I've said all season that we're going to see the best of Walter Marder in his second year, and I think his cameo yesterday was a little bit of a trailer for that, because he looked good, he was positive, his little pass over the top for Wissa that should have been a goal. I mean, that was phenomenal. Like, his touch is definitely there again. He's stopped being bullied off the ball. Like, now when he's getting bullied, he's putting himself on the floor, which you need to do as a striker. You need to make sure that you're winning that free kick if you're not taking the player on. And I would say that the only issue that I had with that lineup was that Lewis Miley doesn't beat his man as a right back and cross the ball in. I think there's too much times that we dilly-dally when we get the ball forward. We then just kind of, you know, we'll pass it side to side, and I don't think that works. But at the same time, it was Arsenal. They are top of the league. We did outplay them, and they do have a very solid defensive record. So, you know, that's probably factored into that. But for me, plenty of positives to take from that game.
For me, I think the first thing I would say is one journalist came out afterwards, and I won't name Craig Hope, but he came out and says, we did well today because we weren't as bad as we have been. And I don't think that's really a good thing to say about a team. You know what? It's sort of, you think, we've been a little bit better. It is factual, but you think it's not really praising the team up. For me, I think, we were better yesterday. It was a better performance. It was a better team performance, but it still wasn't good enough. That's the problem. You know, you're sitting there and you're thinking, Arsenal were not great yesterday. Arsenal were there for the taking. You know, if we'd played to our best, or played to what I think's our best with the players we've got, you could have won that game. You could have scored in that game. It was just disappointing throughout the pitch. You know, we started with a centre-back at left-back, a central midfielder at right back, but we had both positions available on the pitch for players that's their specialist. That's the way they play. So, you know, why do you do things like that? It doesn't make sense. You know, you say it's for the height. It is a left back for the height. What the hell difference does it make? I mean, Cole had one bad game, and I'm going to go on to the whole situation, because I have heard that Hall had a massive bust-up Eddie and Tyndall, and that's why he didn't play. And, you know, I don't often come on here and spout, you know, sort of rumours or things, but it's a little bit more in the rumour, that one. And I think what proved it for me was the person that told us this said, and he'll be on the bench, but he'll never get on the pitch. And yesterday, if you were trying to win that game, surely your substitute would have been, if the week before you did a tactical substitution, if subbing your fullback, your tactical substitution this week would have been subbing your fullback.
I mean,
So, you know,
I think that, and I do want to get on a little bit to what else you might have heard about that. But I think that the thing with that is that by the end of the game, we were putting Dan Burn into a forward position. So if you take Dan Burn off, you've kind of lost one of your attacking target men. Even with Waldemar,
we had strikers on the bench.
We did. I mean, by this point, by the end, we did have Waldemar and we sat both on the pitch. So, I mean, I could definitely justify it. You could then also think, oh well, you can just put Burn in the centre back and put Botman off. He picked up a slight knock again yesterday. He does quite often get a little bit of an injury, but again, Botman was solid. So I could see why the substitutions might not have been made, even if there hasn't been a bust up. But what else have you heard about this? Was it about the substitution last week, or what seems to? Do you have any sort of like under the covers kind of that sort of phrase of term? Is it no? But do you have any more information on that? Is what I'm trying to say.
Basically, what I heard was last week that Hall had the reason Hall was subbed off at halftime was because he'd had a bit of a bust up Eddie about the tactics in the game. Hall being told he wasn't doing his job properly, and him basically saying, there's a lot worse people in the team than me, and part of my issue is that other players in the team aren't doing what they're meant to be doing. So that's why, and seemingly Tyndall and Howe kept together, and they were quite strong on it, saying, no, it's down to you and the way you've been playing. And the only one that stepped in for Hall was Graham Jones. So
right, and that'll have fueled the fire because we. So go on.
No. I mean, that's basically what I heard, and I think it echoes out in why the hell would you drop Hall against Arsenal if that wasn't the case?
Yeah, and I mean it's again you can look at the corner situation. I think maybe it is a little bit stronger than that. I think the fact that Waldemar and Wissa haven't been starting games, the fact that he's pulled Hall off and played him on the bench. Maybe it's Eddie just trying to not be so much of the nice guy for them and just try to get a little bit more control of the team. Because we have seen a few press conferences post game where he comes out and he says, well, that's not what I was telling them to do. And you're like, okay, that's a problem. You're the manager or head coach. They should definitely be doing what you're telling them to do. And if he's decided to take a little bit of a stronger arm with the players and be like, okay, look, if you're going to chat back to me, you're going to sit on the bench because I'll just play a different tactic, then I would, in one way, I would say I love that because it shows Eddie Howe trying to take control of the team. On the other, though, don't upset Lewis Hall. Please do not upset Lewis Hall. He is our best player and probably will be one of our best players for many, many years. Don't give him a reason to leave this club under any circumstances.
I was going to say, yeah, I agree that he should be calling players out, but why the hell would you call Lewis Hall out?
Yeah.
Who's been one of the worst
pick on somebody else. Go and chin Nick Pope. Don't pick on Lewis Hall.
And if Hall's came in with an attitude of sort of I'm frustrated with this, then I can kind of get it from his point of view. He's been playing bloody well, and he's the one that gets called out. He's the one that's called. And you look at Tino since he's came back, he hasn't looked like he's asked about the Toon at all, really, has he? He's been quite lackluster.
Yeah.
But you sub Hall and you keep him on the pitch. A lot of it just doesn't make sense, and I get it. I mean, look, I'm not sitting here saying I've got inside sources or anything like that. So,
I'll
not go that far. But at the same time, does what I'm saying make sense? I suppose is the way you've got to look at it in your own head, sort of thing.
And it does, yeah. Unfortunately, it does.
Yeah, so we'll move on to the right wing, Tina. Come on, and did we get anything? I think we had who was Wall right winger? That was just Miggy Almiron going through. Miggy Almiron, Miggy Almiron.
See, I've not really heard that one, to be honest, a lot, but I can't think of any right wingers that we've had who have had unless Anthony Gordon counts, but I think we'd have him as a left winger. But actually, because
my right winger, Richie's, I can't say the word magic. He wears a magic
Magic
hat. He
hat.
could have played for West Ham, but he said no to that. He'd rather play
Well
for
done.
Eddie in the famous black and white. So that was my right wing. I know he played left back at the end of his career, but he was a right winger when he came here.
Yeah, I mean, I'll save the Gordon one for left, even though I've got like another player for left wing, but we'll save that one. But I can't really think of a lot of right wingers who did have songs. But a position that I know we've got some songs for is what I think we're going to do next, which is centre midfielders.
Yeah. So 2 songs for central midfield, chat. Anything that you've got, go for it.
I've got about 7 for this, so I'm very prepared for this one.
Great, I can have a little nap on this one then.
Oh,
so,
hold
Tina,
on, Robert Lee. He was a right winger.
He was a central midfielder as well, but yeah, if you want to go for Robert Lee, he did play right wing a few times for me.
Yeah, I mean, we could have Robert Lee. But, I mean, to be fair, the only one that I ever heard from was the what's his name? That, what do you call him, man? Sherwood Forest guy, where it's like, Robert Lee, running down the wing. Like, that's the only one I can think of for him. I can't remember the name of the... That's the guy, man, Robin Hood. I knew... I was thinking he's like an archer, but he's not Harvey Barnes. I was thinking, no, I can't say that on YouTube. I need to think of what this guy is.
I've got to say, Wazza's right there. I love Hall. He's been inspirational. How picking on the youngsters? No, 100% Wazza. Well done, mate. Well spoken out.
Yeah, there were definitely other players I would have called out. Like you say, Tino Livramento, well before we got on to picking on Lewis Hall. But, you know, if it works going forward and it ends up getting the best out of Lewis Hall, that's what we've got to kind of hope, I suppose, is going to be the long-term case for this.
100%. So, Tina, your little part of the show now. We're going to get on to the ladies' team a little bit, how they've been doing over the last few weeks. I think they've had quite a few draws, haven't they, from what I've seen?
A lot of draws, and it has kind of stagnated our push for the promotion that we're looking for this season. We've obviously we've got a big game today kicking off right after this show. If you just want to catch it, it will also be live on YouTube. I know we don't usually advertise other YouTubers' channels, but they do show a lot of the WSL League 2 games on the YouTube channel, so you'd probably be able to catch that. And we are playing against Bristol City. And to be fair, we can... Oh, was it with a super chat? Loving the theme, but the singing could be better. I do apologise for that, was I? But again, thank you very much. To be fair, it's quite early in the day for me to be on YouTube. Haven't had time to warm my voice up. I've, just been out of a nice hot bath, then had my food. So I apologise that my singing is below par, but I will try to work on that for the rest of the songs going forward. But thank you again for your support and your super chat. Another £2 super chat from Wazza there. So yeah, we've got Bristol City today, the ladies, and it's an important game because promotion isn't completely ruled out yet. We do need Sunderland to do us a little bit of a favour. We need them to beat Crystal Palace for us to realistically have an opportunity to still finish third and still get into that playoff position to get into the WSL 1, which would be massive for a ladies team that has only been professional since last year. So I mean, if you can imagine that trajectory, I mean, we've definitely changed the entire vibe in the ladies team. And then we've got our last game of the season next week as well, which I believe is against Durham. They're not having as great a season. And I think it was Gregory who came out this week and said that all that we can do is just concentrate on us doing our job. We're aware that we've had a lot of draws this season, and to get any sort of chance at promotion, we are going to need to win our next 2 games, and we need other 2 teams to do us a favour. Like I say, it's Sunderland today, so if they could do us a favour, that would be fantastic, lasses. And yeah, the other main news for the ladies team is that Charlotte Wardlow has been nominated for Player of the Month, and I think she's been absolutely fantastic this season. She's definitely been one of our more solid players. She looks good going forward. She's fantastic defensively. I don't even know for a fact whether she was going to be first choice right back this season, had it not been for the injury that happened, but she's stepped in there. She's got the number 2 shirt, obviously, so there was always going to be a chance that she was going to be first choice anyway. But she's been very much a part of this promotion push that we've had this season. So
Yeah,
how are the lasses?
How are the lasses? It's a strange one, isn't it? Because they've been on such a good run of form. Do you think it's just the season catching up with them? It's sort of the first time they've been doing this, and they just sort of it's a new experience for them in this league.
Yeah, I mean, I think we were on such a good run of form, and the weird thing is we did strengthen quite well with Hales and with Torpe coming in to the team in the transfer window. It looked like we were really putting the pieces together, and we've got some fantastic players. All of them playing for the international side. Emily Murphy's been in amazing form. Jordan Nobbs is scoring absolute worldies from outside the box every week. So I do think it is just, we're coming up against teams who have been professional for longer than we have, and we've hit a bit of a run of draw after draw after draw, which has stagnated things. But I don't think the team's given up on the idea of promotion this season. I definitely haven't given up on it yet. And the game at 2:00 today should be very, very interesting. And we have another super chat from our Wazza, which is right. Well, thank you for that super chat, Wazza. We're not going to read that one out, but you crack on a
I
Sunday.
don't think there's nothing wrong with that one. Go on. No wrong with women wearing drawers. I've got mine on here. I'm
Fair
sure
enough.
he's got his boxers on there. And,
I mean,
ladies will have their drawers on.
I'm still hooked into that DAB. Don't say anything controversial thing. I know that's not a thing now, so I need to kind of loosen up a little bit. But I saw that, I was like, surely I can't read that one out. But thank you again for the super chat. Oh, we've got trolls coming in. Hales has not been good at all, but the lasses are at least winning games, unlike the lads. We have had a few draws, to be fair, and Hales, yeah, I mean, she's not been... She's not really done a lot, but she's definitely got goals in her. She is mostly used as a substitute. How could you not, though? With the formation that we play, you can't really justify putting Hales in ahead of Emily Murphy. But she's definitely a good backup. She's got a touch of the Asulas for me, where when she comes on, there is a lot of movement from her. Like, she gets into attacking places. She hasn't quite found her shooting boots for us yet, but if you watch her when she plays internationally, she could definitely be a worthwhile player for us in this last couple of games.
So do you think we will get into the get up? Do you think we will get up this season, or do you think it's maybe a progression season for where next year we're top of the league and we'll go up top?
I think if we stay in WSL2 this season, I think next season we are going to be one of the big hitters. And mathematically, we can still make it for third position this season. But like I say, we do need other teams to do us a favour. Today, we need Sunderland to beat Crystal Palace for us. If they do that, I'll never say another bad word against the Sunderland Lasses team. Maybe will against the men's team, though, I'm going to be honest. But yeah, if against the Sunderland Lasses team, I'll have nothing bad said if they can just stick a couple of goals past Crystal Palace. And then, as Gregory said earlier in the week, we just need to concentrate on what we can control, and that's us getting a good win today against Bristol.
Yeah, definitely. So, come on, the ladies, I guess, is the thing. At least you guys
How are the lasses?
At least you guys haven't lost twice this season against the Mackhams. But we're trying to be positive, so we'll not mention that again. So, should we go with the central midfielders, Tina? You got any songs for central midfielders?
We've got Bruno in the middle. He knows exactly what we need. Bobbing at the back. Whistle in attack. Newcastle's going to win the Premier League. And Sandro, ole, ole, ole. Sandro, ole, ole, ole. Midfield maestro from Milano. Sandro, ole, ole, ole. And there's another Sandro song, but I'm not sure I'll get away with singing that one.
No, I don't think we can. I don't think we can use swear words. But I think the only one that I had, the one I had from your two was I remember when Kabai was here and we went and he was obviously looking like he was going to leave and don't sell Kabai, Johan Kabai. Yep.
And
Just
yeah, I love
don't
that
think
one.
you understand.
As if you sell Kabai, Johan Kabai, you're gonna have a riot on your hands.
100%. So left wing, any songs for a left winger? Chat, have a go at it. Come on, you've got to think of a song for a left winger. And while we do that, we'll move on to the next little bit. So positives from this season, let's look through what positives we've had. So I think the first one for me is first time in Newcastle United's history we've reached the last 16 of the Champions League. Did you ever think that would happen, Tina?
To be fair, once the takeover happened, I did think eventually that would be something that happened. I wasn't expecting it this season. I still think overall we're slightly ahead of schedule, but yeah, I mean it was something, especially when we won the trophy last season. I was thinking, we could maybe make the last 16, and to be fair, we didn't have the best run for this season where I did start believing that we could still make it, and we had some tough games to get to where we were. When we did get Karabag in the qualifier, I thought, you know what, there is a chance that we do this, and then obviously we did. And yeah, I still think, it is something that we need to not downplay as well, because for as bad as this season is, this club, this team that's currently sat something like 14th in the Premier League, made it into the last 16 of the Champions League, which is where everybody wants to play. It's the premier competition for European clubs on a world stage. And, fair enough, we got absolutely spanked by Barcelona, but we were playing against Barcelona in the last 16 of the Champions League. And if we can somehow, scrape together a little bit of the broken pieces from this season and have another crack at it, I think next season we can certainly get back into Champions League. And then hopefully by the time it comes around again, we are going to be in a much stronger position squad-wise to actually deal with that extra game per week. And then maybe get into the last 16 again.
Do you not worry we're getting into a bit of a spiral where, yes, we have a good season, a bit like Aston Villa at the minute, we have a good season where we haven't got the intensity of Champions League football, but then the season that you do, you then drop down in league form because, you're playing Champions League games and, you get into that cycle of you have one good season, then one bad season where you don't make Champions League?
To be honest, yes. That is something that I have had in the back of my mind, because I even mentioned it to Peter yesterday in the build up to the match of, I'm very convinced if we keep Eddie Howe next season, we will qualify for Champions League the season after. The problem then becomes, can Eddie Howe deal with that extra game in the week? And you would think by then, if he stays for all of next season, you would think he would have to have really turn things back around. So you would think by the time we get there again, he'll have learned again from this season, and we might be in a stronger position. But it definitely is it's kind of a roller coaster at the moment, isn't it? We have the highs when we've got no Champions League because we qualify for Champions League, and then we have the lull because we've got that extra game in the week each week that we just can't deal with. But everything in life is about progression and about learning. We can only hope to take what we've learned from this season and apply that not only to next season to get us back into the Champions League, but the season after, unless Jose Mourinho does become the manager, in which case we're winning the Premier League next season and we're winning Champions League the season after. And then he'll have a massive bust up with everybody and storm out the season after that.
Another super chat from Was there? Do you want to do that one, Tina?
Can someone tell me why I've got 20 cats on my fence? I'm not sure if that's him saying that it sounds like 20 cats are on his fence when I'm singing these songs, or if he genuinely has 20 cats, but was that the cats are taking over, they've got a plan, they've decided that you're the target. Be safe, look after yourself.
Was that always look after the pussycats? That's the only thing I can say.
Feed them. Yeah. Go and give them some water. They might just be hungry. They might be saying, was us flashing them super chats about Charlie's got a bit of money for some ham that he can give us. And then you can go outside, you can feed the cats.
Wazza hasn't got ham in his fridge now because he got bullied out of having pork
he did.
And you came on the channel.
Yeah, sorry, not ham. Maybe some chicken.
So I think it was really positive getting to the Champions League last 16, wasn't it? It's it's probably got we're known a little bit more on the world stage.
Yeah, for real.
You get, probably not in the best of ways, losing against Barcelona 7-2 in overall, but no, it gets Newcastle's name out there, and it's sort of as I say, I mean, you look back 5 years, you never thought we would be Champions League
No.
last 16 type of team. So, yes, it went a little bit wrong, but I think that's a big positive from this season. And the next time we're in the Champions League, hopefully we don't get Barcelona again, and we'll get to that next stage. That's one thing you've got to see about how his luck in drawing teams in bloody cup competitions is a nightmare.
I know.
He always gets the bloody biggest team you can. He never gets like a little team.
All right,
Yeah.
we've got Manchester City. Oh, who have we got in this next game? Oh, it's Manchester City again. Well, at least we've got the Champions League. What was that? Barcelona, you say? You've got to. I mean, that is as far as bad luck runs goes. You cannot say that there's ever been a team that's hit Manchester City twice and then Barcelona. Like, come on, man. That's ridiculous bad luck.
Oh, it's a nightmare, isn't it? I mean, you look at it, and it's not just been a one-season thing. Every season when he's had cup draws, it's always been the biggest teams that we've drawn out of the bag. Whether it's just bad luck, it's a strange way for a manager to have that sort of, that run of games that you think, why the hell we're playing Premier League games when other people are playing Conference Northwest or something like that.
Exactly, man. To be fair to Eddie Howe, though, last year he took on those big teams and he beat those big teams. He beat the league champions in the final. We outdid Arsenal on the run up. Last season we were the absolute underdogs once again, and we were absolutely, destroying not destroying them, but we did enough in each of those games to win. We had, little tactical tweaks against Arsenal, and we went into that final of the Carabao Cup. I genuinely believed that was going to be the day, and I still think there was a little bit of disbelief even as it was happening. But when Dan Burns' goal went in, I was like, this is actually happening. Like, I had a feeling, and we did. So, Niall Powell has put into the chat, to win things, you do have to beat the best teams. Last season we did. This season it was just a bit too much, unfortunately, with Man City and Barcelona.
That's it. I mean, the old saying is, to be the best, you've got to beat the best, isn't it? So
it is.
Is that where we are? Yep, exactly.
Shout out to Ric Flair.
Little bit of smartness there for me. I quite like that. Anyway, moving on to left wing. Who was your left? Did you have any songs for the left wingers, Tina?
Anthony Gordon, which he's actually got two, so he's just got do you know what it is? I missed one for... No, can we go back to right wing? I missed one for right wing.
Of course you can.
Do, Anthony Alanga. Do, Anthony Alanga. That's just that over and over again.
I'm sure that one will go down great in the chat.
I mean, to be fair, my singing's not going down great in the chat so far.
No, I don't mean the singing. I just meant the player.
No, I mean, yeah, but the all of the songs that I'm singing haven't went down too well. But yeah, Anthony Alanga does have a good song though. For left wing, we've obviously got Anthony Gordon running down the wing. Gordon, make the Geordie sing. And then I don't know how that one finishes. And I also think he's got another song.
You know what? This just on that one, when you think about it, that maybe proves a little bit of a point this season. How many times you heard that song sung at St James's Park? I can't remember it being sung.
I've heard it sung this season. Oh, there's the other one. Oh, Anthony Gordon. And I have heard that one sung, to be fair. But that is the other one. Yeah. Just, oh, Anthony Gordon. Which is the
Have
White
you heard
Stripes
that
song.
one be sung, or was it, oh, Anthony Gordon, man?
No, to be fair, there's been a couple of... see, Lee Max is absolutely ripping us in the chat. I said, I'm sorry, I haven't had... My voice isn't warmed up. It's difficult to sing football chants. But,
it gets worse when it's warmed up.
It does get much worse. At least I've come on here on a Sunday afternoon, willing to absolutely lodge myself on live television for you all. So yes, I'm welcome. But I do apologise if I am breaking any glasses in anybody's houses, or if you are, having to turn the cabinets off because you're like, oh my God, why is she doing that? I get it, but we're having a good time. There's also, I think Lauren Robert had a song, which I think was just Philip Albert's song.
Yeah.
But I can't
The only
remember
one I
many
could
other
think of, and I
ones.
don't think he was particularly a left winger. I think I've maybe just made this one up because I couldn't think of a left winger song. It was where who's that coming over the hill? It's Sibieski. Sibieski.
Wow, Antoine Sibieski. Do you remember him actually existing? Because I had forgot about it until
Yeah.
you sang that song. Who else have we
I,
had? We had Lauren Robert. We've had Albert Luque
do you
didn't have a
know? Ooh,
song.
was it something like ooh Ginola?
Ooh, Ginola, I think was
Yeah.
the song. What's this? TUI Children's Club for Tina. I don't know what that is, but I'd imagine it's something to do with being a terrible singer. Can I sing the Tonali song? Lee Max, I did sing the Tonali song earlier on, but I sung the Midfield Maestro from Milano version of the song. I did
Yep.
not sing the Eats Spaghetti, Drinks Moretti, and Hate some local rival football team.
I remember me nephew. He was only about 4 or 5, and he started singing the Richie song. You know about Richie's magic. And like he went like you were sitting there and you're thinking he can't swear. He's only 5. And he went Richie's magic. The swear words were just took out completely. I was like, oh, that's all right. Thank you very much for the super chat as well. Was I? You're a superstar, mate. You know you keep this channel going. So thank you. So other positives from this season, Tina. Chow and Hall's development in the team. So Chow's a new player in, and Hall's been, you know, a great player at left back. Do you think those two would be the two main great players of this season, if you like?
Yes, 100%. I think Malik Chow, I mean, we know that he's got a mistake in him. Milan fans told us that when we got him. But he's definitely been, he's I would say, probably the find of the season, because what did we pay for him? Like 12 million. And he's turned
No, I
out to
think
be.
It was 30 odd million that were
Was
actually
30
paid
odd
for.
million? Oh, okay.
Yeah, just
but
a quick
still,
one before we get into saying we're looking for striker songs now. That should be a bit of an easier one.
There's lots of strikers who have got songs. Strikers always have the songs. But yeah, for me, Malik Chow's been a fantastic. Obviously, I don't think he was supposed to be playing as many games as he has, because I think him and Fabian were supposed to be rotated, but unfortunately Fabian's had a horrible year with injuries. But, you know, even though he's had those individual errors, I don't think anybody could say that he's not been one of our most solid defenders on an actual defensive perspective for most of the games this season. And I think him and Botman, when they are both fully fit and both playing well, I think they're going to be a formidable centre-back pairing. And Lewis Hall, like I say, him, Tonali and Gordon have been the only players who I've seen actually putting a little bit of passion on that pitch this season for large parts of the season. Lewis Hall's a phenomenal player. He's got ties to the northeast, which is good, because that means that even if there is a spat, there's a fair chance that we could keep him. But I mean, you know, he breaks up opposition attacks, and he turns it straight into an attack for us. He doesn't waste possession. He's always trying to do something. He'll take players on. He's fantastic at dribbling. He's got a good shot on him. I think he could be like a Roberto Carlos-esque type of defender who does pop up at the occasional goal. He's got a good cross, and he's got all of the attributes that you need from a left back. Or a lot of people are saying he could play in midfield as well, which I know that he can. At the minute, though, we just don't have the options. He's got to play at left back for us, and I hope we tie him down to a 6-year contract.
Well, he doesn't after yesterday, does he?
Well, no, but I would hope that whatever's happened between Eddie Howe and Lewis Hall can be smoothed over, because Lewis Hall has been one of Eddie's best players, and he was one of the first players who Eddie brought in. Like, he was one that Eddie believed in, and he held it back a bit, and we were like, why is Lewis Hall not getting a game? And apparently it was to work on that defensive side of his game. And then when he did start getting a game, we've seen, okay, when Eddie Howe does it right with a player, it works. And it produces what we've got with Lewis Hall. And Lewis Hall had nothing but praise for Eddie Howe. So that's why it's disappointing that those two may have had a falling out. But yeah, hopefully they can put their differences aside. I mean, look, me and Boaky's had falling outs, and look at us here on a Sunday afternoon bringing you a YouTube channel. If me and Boaky could do it, than Lewis Hall and Eddie Howe could do. I feel like I've just broken into the speech from Rocky IV there now. If I can change and you can change, then all of us can change. So let's hope that Lewis Hall, continues to be our number 3 for many, many years to come.
I think I would say, guys, this is a new format, doing it on a Sunday afternoon. So if you like it, let us know. And if you can whack the likes while you're here, that would be absolutely brilliant. Just a couple of chats before I bring in what I think of them two players. Could Boaky and Christina be the next Britain's Got Talent? Definitely not. I don't think either would particularly be able to go on there and sing. Would you fancy it, Tina?
To be fair, right, after a couple of glasses of wine, and when I've had time for my voice to warm up, yeah, I'd absolutely do it. I mean, I'd get laughed off the place, but hey, I'll give it a go just for the lols. I'll pop out
Tina,
some...
Charlotte and Jonathan of Britain. I don't know who Jonathan is.
Charlotte and Jonathan from Britain's Got Talent, absolutely.
Was that bloke with the big black hair? Am I thinking of someone completely different? I haven't watched Britain's Got Talent for years, so I've got no idea. So next time.
Apparently, next time I sing, you've got to do the Dan Burn dance. So
bloody hell.
That'll be fair. We've got strikers, so we've got a lot of songs coming up still, people. But yeah, no, this is a new time slot for us, which actually, personally for me, I really like, and I think it kind of fits our vibe, being on a bit of like a Sunday morning in the early afternoon. So if you do like this, and I would love the fact that there's been loads of super chats, loads of interaction from the chat. So if that keeps up, would absolutely love to keep it in this little time slot. Obviously it needs to work, but yeah, let us know if you're happy with this time slot, guys. And obviously a big way to do that is to drop those likes. I mean, to be fair, it does look as if most of the people who have been in chat have dropped us a like, which we really appreciate. If you haven't, please do give us a like before the end of the show, because that'll be our little signifier for, okay, this works, let's keep it on at this time each week, and then we can bring back the final shout with Boaky and Christina every Sunday for you all.
100%. In regards to Chow, for me, I think Chow's been a revelation this season. Yeah, he's got a little fault in him. Yeah, he's never going to be, a world-class striker, world-class defender, but, he's a good, solid lad, and, I think he's been brilliant this season. I think he'll carry on being that. I think him and Botman at the back are a great pairing. I think Botman's a bit more of a thinker. So, great pairing at the back. And Hall, I just think Hall's been the player of this season for us.
Yeah.
I know people talk about Bruno in regards to what he brings to the club, and I completely agree. And to be fair, this season, Bruno has never, ever won player of the season for us, believe it or not. So
no, isn't it?
It is. There's a little bit of us completely split on this. Do you choose Gordon as player of the season, or do you choose Bruno as player of the season?
Do you mean Hall?
Hall is player of the season. So Bruno or Hall, I think, there's such a difference in the type of player they are, but such a, sort of who's had the best season. And I think I'd slightly be leaning towards Hall, even though I think Bruno's got. I think Bruno's got to get player of the season at some point. Though, that's a big one.
Somebody
I don't know what singing about a Scotch egg means, but I'm guessing people who watch ads are saying, Boaky, you ain't much. Britain Got Talent. There was a guy singing about a Scotch egg. It was terrible. Sure enough, they can't have people singing about bloody Scotch eggs.
Honestly, I haven't seen Britain's Got Talent. I'm more of a Love Island girl. I don't watch a lot of television. I mean, I work all day, and then I come home from work and I'm on YouTube all night with views. And I'm also...
Wait, William, I can see 100% that is never going to happen.
What's William put on?
5:40
a.m. No, that's probably not going to happen, to be honest with you. But thanks for the suggestion. There is a couple of other things in chat about it. There, somebody has picked up on the fact that it does say 5:30 still on the thumbnail. Look, I'm sure that will get updated if this show does get moved to 12 o'clock permanently.
What you never want to do is blame your boss, but I think we'll blame the boss on that one.
No, let's blame the boss. No, but to be fair, I mean, the show hasn't been on for a few weeks. With personal commitments come into personal commitments, don't they? I know I've had busy. I mean, this is my birthday month. It's also my best friend's birthday month. I've also got a goddaughter who's performing at the Glass House in town every couple of weeks. So, look, personal things get in the way, but we've managed to get it together for this week. If it does end up becoming a permanent time change, the thumbnail will get updated. And I did come in a chat at the very start before the show started, just to kind of give that as an update. And I know I saw David Spence there, and I saw Wazza there. At the start, so they managed to pick up the vibe that it was starting at 12. But we will work on that. Another couple of chats that I wanted to quickly run into there, if you don't mind, and then I will give you the hot seat back. But there's one that I saw before. Chris is knackered. So we've got, where was the one? I've just seen a great chat before, and I've absolutely lost it. I think we might have to move on from that. So, somebody's pinched the rest of your jumper and you only have cuffs left. Yes, I know. So the reason for the cuffs, right, is because, wait, they're not cuffs, they're hand warmers. It's just purely because, right, it was too hot to wear my sweater, but I've always got cold hands and feet, so I always need to have something on my hands and something on my feet. I've never take my socks off, hardly ever. I'm very much a socks on kind of girl, and I needed something just so I wasn't fidgeting and constantly putting my jacket on and taking it off. I thought, right, I'll wear the little gloves. It'll keep me fine. If it gets too cold, I can pull them up. If it gets too hot, I can pull them down. So that's the reason. Nobody stole my jumper. Do not worry.
I can smell them socks have been on for a while as well.
No, can I point out, I do change my socks every day. And I went in the bath this morning and I was like, okay, I'll put a new pair of socks on. And okay, they're not always, today, and this is one for you, I'm actually wearing matching socks, which is a rarity for me because I usually have odd socks on because I'm terrible at doing laundry and I just mix everything up, and then I just need a pair of socks in the morning and I just put anything on because it's just a pair of socks. But today I'm actually wearing matching socks for you. You aren't going to get to see them, but you're just going to have to take my word for it. And then we've got another super chat, a £4.99 super chat.
Thank you very, very much.
From Rackstar, who says, could do with Tina on halftime team talks, giving it the Rockies. Absolutely. Like, I think, to be fair, and I'm not just saying this like as some sort of egotistical thing or anything, but I think for some of the team talks this season, if they just had me in the corner to come in after Eddie Howe and explain the tactics and just try to cheer them up, I think would have probably came out in the second half. We definitely couldn't have done any worse than some of the second half performances we've seen. Lee Max with 100%. Odd socks for an odd girl. Thanks, Lee Max.
Yeah. I think Lee means that in a loving way, to be fair.
I think he does. Look, we all know that I march to the beat of my own drum, shall we say? And I'm a little bit eclectic. And there was a good comment in chat the other day who was, I can't remember the name, which I do apologise for, but it literally said, I remember when this last rang in and first started and says she was super shy. What happened? And I think, oh yeah, no, I have changed a little bit from then, to be fair. Like, I've came on my shell just a little bit.
I remember when I used to have to cut in because you, Gary, and obviously Wynne used to do the shows together, and I had to cut in at times to sort of give you the chance to speak. Now I'm like, oh, bloody hell, she doesn't shut up.
And I apologise for that.
No, never ever apologise for that.
I'll find my level eventually.
No, that's a great thing. People want to hear you. They don't want to hear me and the two oldies.
I disagree.
6 players in the England squad is another positive that's come from this season. You know, how many years has it been since we had a bloody single player in an England squad? Now we've got 6.
I know, it's wild, isn't it? Like, and what's weird is the problem that we've had this season is defensively, and our entire backline is being called up for England. So it's kind of bizarre. But it's good. It shows positives, and it kind of harkens back to a lot of, and I know that people got probably sick of it by the end, which was where I was coming in after a loss, and I would say, but look, there were positives to take from that game. And I don't think we've been as terrible this season as the points tally and the position in the league kind of suggests. And that's not just me being a bit of a happy clap. I've genuinely, when I'm watching the games, except for, a couple of games, like, to be fair, the previous two before the Arsenal game weren't fantastic. And the second half against Barcelona was a complete capitulation. Outside of that, to be honest, a lot of the performances when I'm watching the games, I'm a little bit perplexed as to how we are doing as badly this season as we have been. And I know there's been tiredness appearing in some of the games, but I honestly think that there's been a lot of good individual performances. I think at centre-back, Dan Burns been solid. I think Lewis Hall, you can't really argue with him being England's like at least first or second choice left back because of we've just been waxing lyrical about him. Tino Livramento also in there. Okay, he's not had great performance for us a couple of times, but when he's on form, I mean, can you name another English right back who's as good as him and at his age? So you can definitely justify all of these players being in the position that they're in. Harvey Barnes was a little bit of a surprising one for me. I did think he was going to end up playing for potentially Scotland. I think he nearly got a call up for, but he chose to stick with the England lineup as well, and he's, that's kind of paid off for him. When now our first choice and substitute left midfielder is the first choice and substitute left midfielder for England as they go into a World Cup. So, you can only feel happy for the team in regards to that.
100%. If you pronounce that name, Tina, I can do the chart.
Yes, so that is all right. Okay.
Anyway, Maximum and Almiron good, right and left wing Newcastle, 100%. Yep, they were both. Well, the better wingers than we've got now. Bloody hell, that's another show completely. But were they better wingers than we have now? I would say potentially. Well, yes. You, Tina?
I mean, I think the thing is, so first of all, obviously, Alan St. Maximin was my favourite player when he was here. Outside of Fabian Schär, obviously. But, I loved Alan St. Maximin. I loved his style. I loved his little, he had his little hand thing on and his hair. Like, everything about Alan St. Maximin was everything I look for in a player. And he was one of our most exciting players. Through some dark times, he was captain excitement for me. Some people had things to say about his end product. I never had a problem with Alan St. Maximin. Mickey Almiron was a hard worker, never stopped working, and then he hit that purple patch in that season, and all of a sudden it was like prime Lionel Messi, just banging in absolute world. It was the season after Jack Grealish had said, "Oh, this guy's playing like Almiron," and then Almiron was like, "Well, I took that personally," and he just started banging in worldies against everybody. So they were fantastic, and to be fair, on actual performance, to be fair, I mean, Gordon and Barnes have actually been quite good at left wing in regards to end product. Not so much this season, but you'd probably be hard pressed to say that Miguel Almiron and Maximum aren't better for us than Elanga and Murphy have been. So yeah, fair shout, maybe they are. But hopefully that'll turn around. I still believe that Elanga's going to, become a player for us. And I think Jacob Murphy, I think he gets slept on a lot. I think he's, the last season he played with Alexander Isak, I think we saw what can be done from Jacob Murphy. And he always puts in a shift. Almost always does his defensive duties as well. The last week's game, put to one side and forgot about. Normally does his defensive duties, and he's got a good cross. He's got an eye for an assist, and he's not scared to have a go. So yeah, I'm a big fan of Jacob Murphy, but I would say, if you're looking at it factually, Miguel Almiron and St. Maximin might get the nod ahead of them.
Yeah, 100%. I think neither. Well, I think Almiron was a little bit of an Eddie Howe player. Miggy was a little bit of an Eddie Howe player. But I think Alan St. Maximin had no chance at Newcastle once Howe came in. He just wasn't his type of player. He was that little bit of a maverick, which Eddie doesn't like. Eddie likes, slow and steady, basically, which, has done him well. He's won a cup and he's got win Champions League, so you can understand that.
It's a shame,
but I think sometimes sometimes you need a player like that.
Yeah, and I think this season, if we'd had a St. Maximum, I think we probably would have had a better season, because that's what we needed yesterday. Just a player to just have a go at them. That was the only thing that was missing from yesterday's performance, is that nobody was willing to just have a go at these players and have a run at it. And if we had a player like, if Miley had just tried it down the right hand side, or if in midfield Bruno or Tonali had just had a go, just run at them, try to get in there rather than passing to the side. And Maximum would have done that. You could tell Maxi, just pass it around, play it back, and he would think about it, and then he would decide that was bad advice, and he would try to run past the player. And I think that's why I love Asula so much, because you need a player who's willing to do that. And yesterday, Maximum being on that pitch would have potentially meant that we won that, in my opinion.
100%. So should we do the strikers up front, the two
strikers.
songs for strikers?
So I'm going to get one out of the way because I missed him as a centre midfielder, which is, he's Brazilian. He only cost 40 million. And we think he's brilliant. It's Joe Linton. And then I've got another one, which is Shira.
I've got one for a couple of players. One of them that you aren't going to like. Hey, Alan Shearer. Ooh. We want to know how did you score that goal? Yep. And then give me a striker from Sweden. What could do with them this year, to be honest.
What's the rest of that song? Oh, what was it?
Isaac.
Where's the number 14 and he plays an attack? Give me a striker from Sweden. First name Alexander and his last name's Isaac. But yeah. Yep. It's
any other striker songs out there?
Yeah, absolutely. 21 or 28, 21 or 28, 21 or 28. Obafemi Martins. No, I haven't been at 21 nor 28. Are you sure he is? We've also got Andy Cole. Andy Cole. When he gets the ball, he scores the goal. Andy Cole. See how I'm starting to warm up now? I'm getting into it now.
You know, the good thing is about all these songs is we're such bad singers that there's no chance we're getting copyright infringement for any of them.
Oh, absolutely.
If anything, we might get cut off for bad taste in regards to songs.
But to be fair,
nothing else.
If I was singing an actual song, it's not easy to sing a football chant because these football chants are usually sung by drunk football fans, so you kind of pick them up as they are. But we had obviously Demba Ba had a song, but I think that was just Demba Ba. The same one we had for Nicky Butt, the same one we had for who was it? I can't remember who we had at right back. Who you mentioned. But yeah, there's lots of songs. Any more songs for strikers? Les Ferdinand, did he have a song? I don't think he did, to be fair. He probably should have.
I can't remember Les Ferdinand ever having a song. I'm sure Win may be able to tell me, but I can't remember that.
I'm surprised hasn't had a...
No, the only other one I want to do is the song for Our Manager. So, you know, I think there's one song that's out there in everybody's lips. Time to say goodbye.
No, I much prefer Here We Go. Eddie Howe and Jason Tyndall.
Right, so last little bit of good news, and this is the best bit of good news I think I've heard in a long time. Guess who's back doing a talk in Newcastle in May? Keegan's back at the Time Theatre. Yep. Tickets are available, you know, but that's the best bit of news I think I've heard in months. You know, seemingly he's still a little bit fragile, and it's Sky Sports are reporting this. It's Greaves from Sky Sports who's, you know, doing the talk along with him. But he's back in town, and he's back doing what he loves doing, which is chatting to Newcastle fans. So, you know, if we're looking for positive news, I think that's the best bit of positive. And even though seemingly he's not completely recovered, we hope Kevin does get fully recovered, and, you know, it'll be great having him back in the Newcastle area. Absolutely great.
And you can tell him this now if he's listening. We will love it when he beats that illness. Love it.
100%. And let's face it, if there's one positive guy out there that you want to see beat it, it's Kevin Keegan, isn't it? He's club legend, managerial legend, player legend. What a guy. What a guy.
I've always said, without Kevin Keegan, None of this happens. There's no debate about whether we can make Champions League next season. There's no talking about cup victories. None of this happens without Kevin Keegan receiving that call from Sir John Hall all them years ago when we were struggling and about to drop out of the Football League, and the two of them saying, look, there are two men who can save this football club, and they're on this phone call right now. And then he did come back to Tyneside. He did become the manager, and the rest, as they say, is history. But the entertainers that romp through Division 1 into the Premier League, making us not only a Premier League team, but then challenging for the title that exact same season. The ups, the downs, the highs, the lows, the way that he used to come and speak to us when he made a decision that fans weren't happy with, for example, the sale of Andy Cole. You know, the fact that he brought the boyhood club fan, the sheet metal worker's son from Newcastle, back in Newcastle. That man laid the foundation. It's like the line from the John Wick movie. The things that Kevin Keegan did when he was here laid the very foundation upon which Newcastle United are built to this very day.
100%. And I think partly, do you think, I mean, I know from my point of view, I've got to try to step back a little bit because, as people say on the channel, you know, I'm quite pig-headed and I've got my opinion. And I think part of it is that I was brought up in the Keegan era and I loved that football.
Mm-hmm.
But I understand Eddie Howe's not that type of guy. So, you know, do I look at it through rose-tinted glasses back then? Probably a little bit. But, you know, it was such a fantastic time at the club and it was such a fantastic sort of, you know, a period for Newcastle United. The whole city was uplifted. There was love around the air, you know. I was only, whatever, I was probably I was in my late teens. You know, it was sort of just a magical time. And I think that's part of the problem as a football fan. We've all got little bits of nostalgia that we love. And, you know, we'll look back on it and sometimes we'll look back on it with a little bit too much of the positive side. I'm sure there was times where I used to go, bloody hell, what you doing the day, Kev? You know, but you don't remember them ones.
No, and I think rightfully so. I mean, there was, you know, the 4-3s against Liverpool and the 12-point lead that we lost by the end of that season. There were lows, but there was also times that we beat like Tottenham Hotspur 7-1, or, you know, Alan Shearer's absolute, you know, destroying teams. The entertainers, we were known as the entertainers for a reason. And the football that we played back then, the attacking football. I mean, if your favourite team wasn't Newcastle United back then, like even people in Europe and in South America, your second favourite team was Newcastle United.
Definitely 100% what everybody's second team were at the time. We're running over time, so at the risk of getting shot off the boss, should we do one little bit in regards to this week and what we think is going to be exciting happening this week? And do we think we're going to sort of have a chance in the game against Brighton? We're at home, you know. I think, you know, we've got a chance against them, but we'll have to change things up a little bit. What are your thoughts, Tina?
I think that the performance, if we play against them like we did against Arsenal, I think we'll turn them over. I'm hoping to see a bit more of Walter Martin and Wissa as the 9 and 10, like we saw at the end of yesterday's game. I think that worked fantastically. I wouldn't be adverse to seeing that and Asula on the right, as part of the starting lineup. I'm not sure Eddie Howe will go with that, but to be fair, the squad that was put on there, if we play like that and just have a little bit more confidence with it not being against Arsenal, just have a go at them, then I think, you know, we could see something in that game that really brings back some good times and some good vibes towards the end of the season. I think, you know, there was no heads down yesterday. Everybody looked like they knew their role. The passing was mostly sharp, except for little bits in the final third. And yeah, I can't see any reason why we can't win that game.
No, 100% not. And I completely agree with you. And I think it's you know, it's a chance to turn the season. We keep saying it's a chance to turn the season round, but it really is. I mean, I'm
Yeah,
looking
I mean,
forward to this
Brighton are
weekend.
playing good. You can't
Yeah,
deny that. Brighton are on a good run, and they're not like a pushover team by any stretch of the imagination. There is a chance that they can come out and do us over here, but we've got a good defense. We've got a good midfield. We've got a plethora of different front three or front four lineups that we could put out there. Although Brighton are playing good, there's nothing to say that we are no longer the team that we once were, who can go in a games like this and put on a heck of a performance.
100%. And let's be positive. There's 4 games left. Whether you're Eddie in, Eddie out, doesn't really matter now. We're not going to finish. Let's face it, we're not going to finish in a European position. We've had a nightmare of a season, but let's finish it off well. Let's at least go into the end of the season, doing well and winning games. Is there anything else you want to cover the day, Tina? Or
I mean, I think I got everything said that I particularly wanted to, except for to say keep the faith, keep bringing yourselves through to the channel. Thank you all very much for the support that you've shown us today. Thank you for getting involved in the chat. It's been absolutely lovely having a nice little Sunday afternoon chat with you all. And yeah, just keep the positivity and let's hope that we go into this week all hyped up to bring a victory, finally breaking a bit of a duct at this club.
do you know what the most exciting thing is, Tina?
What's that?
Well, from 6 o'clock, we've got shows on till late. So
Oh, that is right.
we've got the players' ratings with Ian and Michael from 6 o'clock. Become a member to watch that. Those guys are great at that, and you know what? They're both such good laughs when you watch them on it. They don't shy away from having their opinion. And then we've got the comparison with Jamie and Simon and David from I'm guessing it will be 7:30.
Always a
And
good
those
show.
guys are always a good show, and they always, they're the lads that have been here for year in, year out and can remember, got the memories to go back to, previous seasons. So 2 great shows to come up, so if you can, like every show that you watch, subscribe if you're new around here, and, just if you can become a member, because you get so much extra content.
And if you've
And
been gifted a membership, please take advantage of that for tonight's shows. I'm sure myself and Boaky will be popping around in chat so we can interact with you there. But those shows are going to be great, definitely worth the watch. So if you have been gifted a membership, please do take advantage of that tonight and see what these extra shows are all about and why we keep pushing them.
100%. And can I just thank everybody in the chat today? I know it's been a strange time to start a show. It's the first time we've done it. Prasiak, you are a superstar, mate. Gifted memberships. Wazza, ads. Who else we had them from? Rockstar, yous are great with
Rockstar,
your
yeah.
super chats. You keep the channel going. So thank you very much. And if you like this format, give her a like on the way out so we know it. And we will be with you again soon. Thanks a lot, guys, out there.
Soon
It's good
will.
night from me.
And it's good night. Well, good afternoon from me.
Yeah. How are the lads?
How are the lasses?